this whole recession is manufactured. This has been made. This is not the first time we've gone through something like this in our country's history. So you have to go back and look at history and see what happened. What did the people do when they were going through these types of situations? Where was the money made? This is different because we're not at war right now that's making our country money. In the past there were opportunities to start businesses that worked with the war that was happening. And that's where a lot of people make their wealth, but you just have to think outside the box. The model of our company is a shift in thinking, a publishing company. And right now is the time to have a shift in thinking. You have to change your thoughts. You have to change your paradigm and think outside the box. And that's what
Paul, Clyde just told us so much about passion and following our dreams and our potentials in essence. And that's your frame, that's your vein. You're a business coach, and there are so many people in here who want to follow that passion and that dream. Tell us how to build that business based on our passion.
That's a good segue. It's interesting. First, I want to define passion.
Okay.
Because I think oftentimes people get passion and excitement confused. Excitement is brief. It's kind of immediate. It's even at the surface. Passion is actually what causes you to be willing to suffer for what you want. Passion is about endurance. Passion is about driving through to the end, doing whatever you have to do to get done what you really believe in your heart needs to be done. If you're not willing to go that far, you're not passionate about that thing. Again, whatever it is. That could be a relationship, a business, again, your purpose. You should be passionate about your purpose. If you feel that there's something that you've been put here on the earth to do, and you're not passionate about from the standpoint you'll do whatever it takes to get it done legally, in there legally. But at the same time, again, you're willing to lose sleep. You're willing to lose relationships. I mean, this thing is got a hold of you more than you have a hold of it. That's what passion is all about. And the thing is, oftentimes people haven't found what that thing is. If I ask the question in the room right now, I won't embarrass anyone, but many people wouldn't be able to raise their hand. And if I said, what is your passion? Based on what I just described, would you be able to tell me what your passion is? And I think it's a process, I believe, going through life uncovering that. But I think also you have to be intentional about trying to figure that out. I think every single person is born with a purpose. And there's a path for you to be on and a plan that you actually have to begin to live out. And if you aren't intentional about trying to discover that, about trying to discover your passion, along with that, you end up meandering through life. And they say if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. You know what I mean? And so if you haven't targeted it, what am I going to accomplish with my life? What am I going to accomplish with the gifts and talents and abilities and opportunities and the relationships that I've been given? If I haven't identified that thing, I will end up 20 years from now having accomplished any more than I have today. And so the thing is identifying that passion, but then also being able to channel it in a specific area and direction so that your resources, your talents, your energy, your relationships are all going in that way. And again, if you haven't discovered that, it absolutely can be a frustrating existence of a life, not knowing why am I alive.
Wow, well said. Bo, I'm still in that position where I found my passion. I think I found my passion. I'm not really sure, but I think I found it. And I'm doubting myself. As a doubt reduction specialist, talk to me. Don't talk to them, but talk to me. Because that's where I am.
Well, if you're unsure whether you found your passion, you're riddled with doubt. You're riddled with uncertainty about the decisions that you're facing, about the decisions you're making about not only your career, but your life, potentially your family, your finances, the whole lot. To reduce doubt in any scenario, you have to have clarity. Clarity is the antithesis of doubt. And so clarity simply means that I decide what it is I want. Because everyone's an expert at what they don't want. You can ask anyone, what is it you don't want? And they can tell you clearly. They can delineate from line 1 to line 100 exactly what they don't want. Power is found in clarity that's associated with knowing definitively what you want. So identify what those things are. And don't be ashamed of what comes out on that list. If you want to be rich, it's okay. If that's one of your life's desires, if that's what you want, identify that and articulate that. You'll come up with what's then a short list of those things that you absolutely have to have in your life. You'll be clear about that. You then use that as a barometer to make decisions. Based on those priorities, when opportunities come, when different chances or different decisions have to be made, I have a barometer, I have a litmus by which I can measure those opportunities. Because, everybody can get rich. I could sell artists if I want. I could go make $1 million, cutting grass if I like. I can paint houses. But if my desire and one of the top priorities on my list is to spend more time with my children, I'll make those decisions differently. Because there's opportunity everywhere, and that's a distraction. You don't want to be distracted. That's where the doubt comes from. You need the clarity, so you have to do the work to identify your own list of priorities.
Apostle, you're a man who, week after week, day after day, stand before others and give clarity. You're a man of maturity, power, and influence. And right now, we need that. You balance the ministry and the marketplace. Elaborate more on how you're able to do that and make people successful.
I believe in the context of what I do on a regular basis, standing before a congregation and encouraging them to seek after that passion, to discover how and why God created them and how God wired them. One of the things that I constantly have to challenge people to do in a church setting is to shift their thinking from church to kingdom and understand that the kingdom of God, Jesus came preaching to kingdom. He didn't come preaching to church. And to say the kingdom of heaven is at hand is to say that there is more to what we do beyond a Sunday morning. We come into the house of the Lord when the focus is on church, the focus is on getting a person to accept Jesus Christ and to go out and do the same for others. Get them to do what you have done or make the decision that you have made. When the decision or the focus is on kingdom, we understand that accepting Jesus Christ is foundational. And the foundation, once we have that foundation, we build upon it with a ministry and a marketplace mentality. The Lord has called us all with passions, and some persons' passions are for the household of faith. But I believe more than that, our passions are for what happens in the marketplace. And just as there are apostles and prophets and pastors and teachers in a ministry setting, I believe that God has also called apostles and pastors, prophets and teachers and evangelists in the marketplace. And that is what I do on a regular basis. Encourage a person to first identify what your passion is, and then secondarily identify where is your passion supposed to be focused. Is it inside the four walls, or is it outside the four walls in the marketplace? And more times than not, it's outside the four walls.
So if I am called to the marketplace, I'm called to do business, and to pick back on something he said, Jesus said, do business till I come.
Absolutely.
And I'm out there doing business. I need your help, especially to know what is the Lord saying about the world at this time.
I think what the Lord is saying about the world at this time is really the same thing he's always said to the world. He says, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I think in this, what I believe is a very prophetic moment, the Lord is saying more to those who have a kingdom mentality. He's saying to those who have a kingdom mentality, now is the time to enlarge your territory. Now is the time to stretch yourself. Now is the time not to focus on what you don't have, but to seek the opportunities that have made themselves available in this prophetic time. Everybody has questions right now, and all those that I've ever met that have attained wealth and success in their life are persons who have found a way to answer somebody else's question. If you answer the question that somebody else has, then you'll be paid well for that. And in this moment, I believe God is speaking strategy to the kingdom. I believe God is speaking answers. He says, call unto me, and I will answer, and I'll show you great and mighty things that you know not of.
Okay, I've set the stage. I'm now fine. I feel like I have my spiritual setting on a sure foundation, and now I'm ready to do business till I come. And you said strategy, and I know Clyde to be a strategist. We have many people in here who now need to look at the reality of their life, and they find themselves right now where the real, just everyday life. I'm almost in foreclosure. The housing market is not doing well. I'm upside down in my mortgage, and I'm tore up from the floor up. Help me out.
All right, where do we start? Wow. I think that's something a lot of people are facing right now. And again, that's the reality. And what you have to do sometimes, which is challenging, is to step outside of the reality. Because reality sometimes is not real. You know, what we see sometimes is not real. So we have to step outside of that. I was working a 9-to-5 job up until last September. In the middle of a recession, I quit and left and said, this is not it. And I did a speech about it and equated it to feeling like I jumped off of a building. And that's what it truly felt like. But I felt like I was being pushed to jump off the building. I felt like it was time to jump off the building. It was time to go. And I had to go. And so really I had to look at 3 questions. And these are the 3 questions I would pose to you to say, one, what I had to go through is realize about your vision. What is your vision? And what I realized during this process is that my vision was too small. That I was thinking small. And a lot of times our vision is too small, not because we are small thinkers, but it's because that's what we've been exposed to. We haven't seen certain things. We haven't been exposed to certain things to make us think bigger than we've already been thinking. We've grown up in certain situations, and this is what we've become accustomed to. So one is that we had to increase the size of my vision. My vision was too small, and I always thought I had a big vision. It was too small. The next thing I learned is that we're risk-averse people. We're scared. But we take the wrong type of risk is the problem. We do take risks, but they're the wrong type of risk. And so looking back and figuring out where did I take risks and what type of risks they were, now let me see what type of risk I can take that will actually pay off and benefit me towards the road that I'm going down. In the last piece, everybody talks about capital and having capital. But one of the things I think is more important than having monetary capital is human capital. Human capital is something that we overlook every day. And it's relationships, it's the people that we know, the people that we come in contact with. I always talk to people and say, I'm networking. I went to a networking event. So what did you do? I got these business cards. Okay. And what's next? You know, and we don't go through with it. So we think networking is business cards instead of building relationships. So we don't know how to foster relationships because we don't see value in that business card because, hey, I don't need their service right now. I'll stack it away until I need their service. But instead of stacking that business card away, we have to start engaging in building relationships. We have to call people. We have to find out what they need. And one of the things that people mess up on is they pull that card out when they need something. So you think about that call you get on your cell phone. Everybody's got that family member that calls when they need something, or that friend that calls when they need something. A lot of times you don't want to pick up the phone and take that call. And so that's what happens when you're building relationships. If I call you just to check on you and see how you're doing, you're going to take my call because I'm calling to say, how can I help you? What are you doing? Can I do something for you? And so when I do need something and I call you, you're going to pick up the call, and you're probably going to want to help me because that's relationship building. And so human capital is so important. We can do so much with human capital because I can have nothing in my pocket, but know the right people, and they can provide the opportunities that will help you.
That's very poignant. Human capital. We really do need to invest a lot more in that.